Hello everyone and welcome to Etiquette with Anna Hauldren. In today's episode, I'm going to show you 4 best ways on how to break in your brand new shoes. Let's get right into it. You're probably wondering, why do I have a Ziploc full of water on the table here in front of me? And before we get into that, I want to go over a couple of things that I think are really important when it comes to actually buying your shoes. There is only so much that we can do with all of these methods. The most important thing is really to know your foot and what suits your type of the foot the best. There are 2 things that I want you to consider when you are buying your shoes. First one is the width of your foot. There is really a range of width that you can buy depending on the shoemaker, and it goes all the way from extra narrow to extra wide. But I would say, without having to go to a specialist or special shoemaker, the most commonly sold shoes would be the one in narrow, medium, or standard, and wide. When it comes to European sizes, however, make note that in Italian or French, they usually don't really distinguish these things. So you can find either the actually width of the shoe in the description, or they would use the word roomy or something like that. When it comes to measuring your foot, I'm not going to get into the details today because I'm going to be making a special video and teaching you how to wear high heels and how to walk in high heels. And within that video, we are going to establish which foot we have. Another very important thing to be comfortable long term is the type of the foot that you have. Now, when I was researching this, I came across about 8 to 10 different types of feet that we can have, but I narrow it down to the 4 most common that people would have and the most distinguished ones. It's a Roman foot, Greek foot, square, and Egyptian foot. And all of these, as you can see on the graphic, are different within the way that the foot is actually shaped. And of course, this will affect the way that we can be comfortable in different types of shoes as well. For example, with a Roman foot, you don't want shoes that are too tapered or too pointy. You are not going to be able to fit them comfortably within the shoe. With the Greek foot, the longer second toe is going to rub against any kind of shoe that is a Mary Jane, for example, or is a round at the front. So you want to go with something that is more pointy and something that is wider in the silhouette as well. With the square foot, I think you can just follow the shape of your foot. It's definitely going to be medium to wider type of feet in most cases. And those would be perfect for the Mary Janes or for the ballerinas or for anything that has a more square foot. And the last one is Egyptian foot, which is the foot that I have. And it works very nicely when it comes to the aesthetics for people like me that like aesthetically pleasing things or things that follow certain pattern. With Egyptian foot, you have the big toe that is the highest, and then it kind of slides down in a very nice manner. What is the very big downside of this, however, is that a lot of the shoes that I would love to wear, I can't, because the big toe stays in the way of that. So any kind of ballerina, Mary Jane, or anything with a round front is not going to work for somebody with Egyptian foot. What you can do is stilettos, but I will have to have a slim back. So with Egyptian foot, most of the time you have to have the open toe or open back. The third thing that I want you to consider when it comes to breaking in your brand new shoes is the material that they are made of, because the timeline of how long we need to break them in is going to heavily dependent on what they're made of. The least one that you are going to need time for is textile or canvas. So any shoes that you have just like these, a nice wedge, a nice shoe made of canvas or textile, is going to require almost no time to break in. Anytime that you buy these, you can just put them on and then go about your day right away. And most likely you're not going to have any problems with that. The second shortest time required suede shoe. Because the suede is much softer and therefore more flexible when it comes to molding onto our feet and breaking in, so to speak, we're not going to require or need as much time as we would with a regular leather. When it comes to full grain leather or patent leather, this is the one that is going to require the most time to break in. Now, when we talk about breaking in, there are certain materials that are almost impossible to break in, meaning that if you go to a shop and buy them, if they are pushing on your foot in any way, if they're extremely uncomfortable in any place, this is how they are most likely going to be. So we're talking about any kind of vegan leather or polyethylene or anything that is made out of synthetic materials. Another one that is like that is going to be anything made of mesh or knitted materials. So those are also the ones, if you buy them, they're going to stay mostly how they were. What is also important to note is that the shoe will never really grow in the length. So when we're breaking a shoe, we're not thinking, oh, it's pushing on my toe, but that is going to stretch because this is leather or this is suede. Therefore, I have a chance to stretch it. That's not how the break-in works. It's going to break in other places, mostly in this part. But again, if you buy a shoe that is narrow and your foot is wide, it's not going to be enough. So break-in means more making them molded to how your own foot is. And the first one is really the easiest one. It doesn't require any other tools or sprays or any kind of equipment, and it's just simply wearing the shoe. Now, really, really important point here is to never go and buy your shoes for that evening to wear, for the wedding to wear. Don't buy your wedding shoes a week before and then just wear them for the occasion for the first time. You always want to allow some time and work on your shoes to make them comfortable. Anytime you have a party, you have a networking event, you have your wedding, you have somebody else's wedding, buy the shoes in advance so you can do this and you can break them in. When they are the shoes that are the easiest to break in, which we established is the canvas and the suede, you're probably going to require to wear them around the house about hour to 2 hours daily, and they will take about 1 to 3 days to break. If they're medium, which would be the patent leather or the full grain leather, if you wear them 1 hour to 2 hours daily, it's going to take you 3 to 7 days. So definitely, if there is a really, really special occasion in which you know you are going to have to stay in those shoes for hours on end, make sure that you buy them 4 or 5 weeks before, and then you can work on them and make them comfortable for the occasion. With that in mind, I want you to use the first method, which is just really wearing the shoes in short periods of time around your house for a very short walks outside. If you go for a walk with your dog, just a quick one, 10-minute, 15-minute one, wear your new shoes and then come back. If you have to go take the garbage out, take your shoes. If you're going around the corner with your friend for a drink, you can wear these shoes. And most of the time, just wear them in the house and make sure that you don't overdo it for the first time, because if you get blisters, if you ruin your feet for the first time, then it's going to take you much, much longer, because now you have to wait and you have to start wearing different shoes. What can also help to stretch them a little bit quicker is to put some fuzzy sock on and wear them with that. That goes without saying, always be careful when you're doing so. Now, the second option for you, and all of these options, mind you, are mixable. So ideally, you can mix these things together to get the best result. Now, the second way how to stretch your shoes quicker is to use the stretch spray. Definitely, you want to read the instructions and making sure you use them on the shoes that they are actually responsive. You definitely don't want to use it on any kind of canvas or textile, and you definitely don't want to use them on the suede. I will link all of the tools that we're using today. And what is a very important part of how to use the shoe stretch spray is to use it on the inside. So when you take it out of the box, you want to shake it well, of course, and then you would spray it wherever you need to stretch your shoe. Most cases is in this area. Sometimes it's in the back as well. And then you spray it on the inside of your shoe, which means that if I have this suede shoe, I'm not going to spray it on the suede. That would actually ruin it. And again, you always want to follow the instruction that is on the spray. Another option for you would be to spray it first on the cloth and then dab it inside of your shoe wherever you need the stretcher. And after spraying, you want to wait about 2 to 3 minutes for the spray to really soak into the leather inside. And then you can either wear them again with your socks on, ideally, or another option would be to use the shoe stretchers. Now, again, combining these different tools can be really helpful and makes everything much faster, but you can use all of them separately and individually as well. So a shoe stretcher is this type of a tool that comes extremely handy, especially if you buy a lot of leather shoes that will need the stretching. Now we have 4 parts to this wooden stretcher. I like the wooden one because it reminds me of my grandmother, but also I feel like this would be the one that a shoemaker would actually use instead of the plastic one, but they of course offer plastic ones as well. So you have 4 different parts. You have the something that I call the hoof, then you have the heel, then you have the wheel here, and then you have the handle, which is here. We are using the wheel to stretch the front to back, and then we have the handle that is stretching the hoof. So this one is really to stretch the width. We first want to go counterclockwise. So our heel is all the way in the back, and the same here. We want to make sure that this part is closed completely when we're inserting it into the shoe. And now maybe we apply the spray, we waited 2-3 minutes, and we can now put the hoof in very gently. We're going to put the heel in as well. As you can see, I'm almost all the way to each other. I don't have a lot of space here, so it comfortably fits. And now I'm going to go clockwise, making sure that the heel is all the way down at the bottom of the shoe, so it's not rising up. And I'm going to go as much as I want to or think I want to. Make sure that you don't overdo it for the first time to not make them too loose, because it can also happen. So don't overdo it with the stretcher, but the moment that you are satisfied in where they are, you want to make sure it's all the way to the bottom. And now we can go clockwise with the handle. That is going to start opening up inside like so and stretching the width of the shoe as well as the top part. And again, we don't want to go too much, so the shoe still is very nice and snug. And now we can just wait. We can leave it like this for a day, for a couple of days, as long as we want. And then when we take it off, it's going to be a nice and stretched. And now we're finally getting to the last Ziploc bag full of water. This method is one that I heard years ago. I tried that. It's not my favorite. It's not the one that I would suggest as a first to go to, but it is one that can work, especially if you're somewhere that you don't have your stretcher with you, you don't have your stretch spray, but you need quickly to do something about your shoes. Now you want to put your water in the Ziploc bag. 3 things to remember here is not to put too much water in there, which was one of the mistakes that I made first. Then also get rid of as much air as possible in this. And last one is to really secure it well so the water doesn't get anywhere into your shoes. And you have to be very careful about the type of the shoe that you're going to be doing this with, regarding the water, but also regarding what we're going to do with it afterwards. So when you have filled it with water, now you want to push this Ziploc bag with the water inside of your shoe, like so. It's going to look something like this. Of course, if you need that for both of your shoes, you're going to do the same thing with your left shoe. And as such, you are going to put it in a shoe bag and put it in your freezer. And because of the water changing from being liquid into frozen, it's going to expand, and that's going to expand the shoe and mold inside of the shoe and stretch it. This is something that has many issues in there. First one being worried about the shoes themselves and ruining them in the freezer. Second one, we're now putting shoes into the freezer where the food is as well. I hope you like this video, and please don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the upcoming episode about how to wear your high heels properly.